Hi, I'm Dale Maley, President of the Livingston County Historical Society. Today, I'll be your guide through some of our treasured historical landmarks. And with the help of a few of our members, we'll be sharing our society's inspiring story, contributions, and mission. Right now, we're in Pontiac, Illinois, a city rich in history and cultural heritage. Let's get started.
We begin our journey at a monument dedicated to the city of Pontiac's namesake, the Memorial of Chief Pontiac.
This is a very neat memorial named after Chief Pontiac, Native American who the town of Pontiac's named after. It was erected in 1936. Plaques were actually made over at the foundry at the Boys Reformatory. This is a really neat monument on the lawn of the courthouse.
Now let's step inside the historic Livingston County Courthouse, which is home to a unique museum.
Established by the Livingston County Historical Society, the museum was allocated a 420 square foot room in the courthouse to display local artifacts. It houses an interesting collection including Native American stone artifacts. This is open to the public during the normal courthouse hours.
Next, we visit the Artifact Archive of the Livingston County Historical Society, dedicated to preserving a massive amount of local history.
Here we are in the archive collection where we have hundreds of very unique artifacts. For example, here's a water cup made from leather from the Revolutionary War. It's amazing that it's survived hundreds of years. This helmet was worn by a local soldier over 100 years ago in World War I, including the gas mask to protect against mustard gas. And this is a German Bible, dates back to 1871. The Kickapoo Indians were living in this area when the first white settlers came in. And these are depictions from the Illinois State Museum, and they were based on the Kickapoo tribe.
Route 66, while that's something that our area is known for, it actually was a Native American trail that was known as the Pontiac Trail.
I love being part of the group and part of the society. I think it's really important because it's so crucial to understand where we've come from and to get a chance to see the history as a living thing that you can experience instead of just read about it or see a picture.
In order to get to where we want to go, we have to know where we've been.
Our next stop is the historic Jones House. This is the oldest brick home in all of Pontiac, Illinois, located at 314 East Madison Street.
And here we are at the Jones House, the oldest brick house in Pontiac. It was built in 1858 for John Daner. He was an early Pontiac businessman. Many years later, Mr. Jones moved into the house. And here's a miniature organ.
When the home was being built in 1857 and 58, it was a pretty crucial time in our country's history. The issue of slavery was being debated. The bloody Kansas period was happening. Lincoln was in Pontiac on a regular basis up to 1860. Most likely knew the family that owned the home and would have interacted with them. The community was just starting to take off and grow. At the time, Pontiac had 300 or so people living here.
Here we are in the bedroom of the Jones house. At least one family member passed away in this home. Some people think it's haunted, but the jury's still out. Did you hear that?
Let's move on to the Yost House, another gem managed by the Livingston County Historical Society.
The house was built in 1898, so it's 125 years old. What's really special about the house is that everything in the house belonged to the Yost family.
And the doorbell still works. This home was built in 1898, and it still runs on the original wiring. The Yost family was very musically inclined. Here we have a baby grand piano. Behind me is a banjo, a guitar, and over here is a melodeon.
None of the children ever married. They lived together as a family their entire lives. They were all college educated, which in early 1900s was very unusual. A lot of people in town will say they weren't really friendly. They were friendly if you knew them. The children never really worked a whole lot in their lives. They had enough income from the farm ground, and their father was a lawyer. Paul was involved in the theater in New York City. He started the Vermilion Players here in Pontiac. Catherine was an artist and a painter. She had a studio up on the third floor. Elaine was a Greek and Latin scholar, and she had an English degree, was an avid reader. There's over 2,000 books in the house, so she's probably read every one of them.
We have a picture of a 1905 graduating class from the Southside School in Pontiac. It shows a single African-American boy in the middle of 25 other students. Pontiac did not have separate schools at that time. Pontiac schools were integrated in 1905. The other people in his class accepted him as an equal. We are an inclusive community, and we have been for well over 100 years.
I think it's important that we teach the younger generation our history, because it's our history that has created this great nation. And it was with what we've learned from our history that we've been able to develop into the greatest nation on the face of the earth.
Our third stop is the Strevell House, rich in historical significance.
Very unique architecture. It's called Carpenter Gothic, built in 1854. Let's take a look inside.
Young Abe Lincoln had come to Pontiac to speak. After the presentation, Jason Strevell and Abe Lincoln walked right back into this house and visited in the living room. And they were sitting here, and Jason Strevell says, "I'm pretty tall, and Abe, I just don't think you're that tall." So Abe took off his shoes and he stood in the doorway and measured himself. And sure enough, he was 6'4".
This is where Abe Lincoln and Jason Strevell spent an afternoon evening talking politics. This is the doorway his height was measured at. This is the mark right here.
At the era this house was built, Pontiac was a bunch of kind of mud huts along the Vermilion River. So it was a very primitive outpost.
We have 3 bedrooms upstairs in the Strevell House. In this room, we have some really neat Civil War soldier-related items. But I think the most interesting item are these boards, how wide the boards were back in 1854. Today, you can't buy a board wider than about 12 inches. Here's a very interesting example of a sword from the Civil War, used by the Union side. It may have pierced the flesh of several Confederate soldiers. These sites are not just buildings and monuments. They are the stories and the memories of a vibrant community preserved by the Livingston County Historical Society. Before we go, let's briefly highlight some other significant historical moments from nearby areas. In 1887, Chatsworth witnessed one of the deadliest train wrecks in United States history. It still ranks as the 7th most deadly train accident in history. Dwight was famous for the Keeley Institute. You could go get injected with a trace amounts of gold, and this would stop you from drinking. Pontiac holds to the distinction of Abraham Lincoln practicing law here in 3 different cases. His first ever case defending Mr. Popejoy, who's the great-great-great-great-grandfather of the owner of Popejoy Inc. in Fairbury. Fairbury is the birth of Francis Townsend, known as the father of our Social Security system we have today.
One of the things that makes Livingston County so special is that not only do we have all of these historic sites, but people care about that.
And we need to progress. And we progress because we learn from history.
So I love being part of the society. It's a great group of people, very dedicated to what they're doing and passionate about the cause.
And I just gotta say this, I love being part of the Livingston County Historical Society.
We hope you enjoyed this journey through time, and we hope you can appreciate the work that the Livingston County Historical Society does. If you'd like to join the society, volunteer, make a donation, or just learn more about us and our other historical sites, please visit our website, livchs.org. Let's preserve history together.